Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for October 22nd, which we'll call is a continuation from the 15th. So the first thing we need to do is have a call on the roll, if you would please, Colleen.
Commissioner Castillo is absent and excused. Commissioner Giannini,
Present.
Commissioner Gloaz,
Present.
Commissioner Kovacevic,
Present.
Commissioner Morrison,
Present.
Commissioner Muir,
Present.
Commissioner Schultz,
Present.
Chairman Stratman.
I'm present as well. So let the record reflect we do have a quorum for this evening's meeting. And as a also point of clarification going forward, in that Commissioner Muir was not at the meeting on the 15th. He has gone through the entire presentation, so he will be a voting member on this presentation this evening because he is fully up to speed on everything that was said at the last meeting. And our alternate, Vlad, will be a voting member. He did attend the 15th, and we're short a member this evening, so he constitutes the full commission. So I would like to entertain a motion to reopen the public hearing for the following application. Application PZC 2025-18 for a planned unit development for a mixed-use development at 755 South Rand Road. The project is the Springs of Lake Zurich, being developed by Continental Properties.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please, Colleen.
Commissioner Schultz,
Aye.
Commissioner Muir,
Aye.
Commissioner Giannini,
Aye.
Commissioner Gloaz,
Aye.
Commissioner Kovacevic,
Aye.
Commissioner Morrison,
Aye.
Chairman Stratman.
Aye. So in that this is a continuation, we will need to swear in anyone that wasn't present at the October 15th meeting and that will have new testimony they wish to make this evening that wasn't part of October 15th. So anyone that's going to be doing that, I would need to ask you to raise your right hand so you can be sworn in. See one. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you. So moving forward, we're also going to ask that the applicant request additional members team to present. We'll swear them as well. We've done that. And then we will have additional testimony from those who did not have the opportunity to speak at the October 15th meeting if it was something that was newly presented this evening. If it was already discussed at the October 15th meeting, whether you were able to attend or not, that is not going to be open for public testimony this evening. It's only on new presentation that we will be hearing from the presenter. So as a reminder, the PZC has received and noted on a number of matters already presented, of which density of the development, impact on schools, flooding and stormwater management, traffic flow, safety, congestion, pedestrian safety, parking, snow removal, tree removal, natural habitat and wildlife preservation, resident recreation, and screening along the south perimeter of the development. So we'll continue from where we left off last week and continue discussion from there. So application PZC 2025-18 for 755 South Rand Road is a continued consideration of the application for a planned unit development, PUD, to redevelop the property with a mixed-use development containing multiple family, rental, residential buildings, and a quick-service restaurant. And staff, before I have you present that to them, would you give us the discussion about, because we did receive in our packet a petition presented by residents.
Yes.
So explain how that, with this being a public hearing, how that is recorded into the record.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last night, or this morning when we opened our emails, we received a petition from Mr. Alex Larson representing homeowners in Braemar. He had indicated in his email that the owners in that neighborhood wanted to express their sentiment about the project tonight. As such, a large number of owners had simply included their names but not their addresses. In consulting with our village attorney, we were advised that petitions are only valid if names and addresses of the signers are included. If not, that petition may be considered an informal petition, and as such, simply be admitted into the record as testimony obtained by the commission. So that is what we would recommend you do this tonight.
And so the comments that were posted on those petitions and that we've all had the opportunity to review, those are all already part of the record for us.
Already part of the record, because you have it with you at this time.
All right, good, thank you. Please proceed with the,
Thank you. And this evening, continuing from last Wednesday night, we do have Ms. Jen Patton here to return, as she's returned to the commission this evening to present her responses to all of the comments that were made at the last meeting. Ms. Patton, go ahead.
Thank you, Sarosh. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jen Patton with Continental Properties. I have my team of consultants here with me today, including Cage Civil Engineering, Chloa, our traffic consultant, DK Environmental, Dan Krill, our environmental consultant, Dan Shapiro, our land use attorney, and Larry Glasscock, our landscape architect with LG Workshop, who are all here tonight, including my colleague Trevor Stadler, our land planner on the project, to answer specific questions regarding their areas of expertise. I'd like to start with thanking you, first of all, for allowing us to come back for this special meeting to continue our Plan Commission and public hearing from last week. I'm gonna flip. Clicker away.
It'll be put on. There it is.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Do you know how I click it to the next slide? Thanks, Michael. Oh, there we go. Okay, so just very brief overview. We are the 20.2 acres, formerly the Regal Cinemas, and currently zoned B3 Regional Commercial District. Last week, we presented our proposed site plan, and since then have looked very closely at that site plan and really looked at and addressed a lot of the concerns that we heard from both Plan Commission, Deer Park residents to the south, and the Lake Zurich residents that spoke that evening. We've come back with a revised plan tonight to address density, which we've significantly reduced, the south property line setbacks, which we've increased now by over 3 times what was presented last week, increased landscape buffers, increased open space, existing tree preservation, and the inclusion of green passive park area on the southeast end of the site. We've addressed the reduced density, which also in turn reduces the impacts to the schools and traffic, and then stormwater and snow. So the plan we proposed last week was comprised of 10 building pads, multifamily building pads. 3 3-story buildings, all north of June Terrace, 7 2-story buildings south of June Terrace. Our parking was a ratio of 1.78, and with the inclusion of the clubhouse parking, we were at a 1.85 stalls per unit. Our south line property setbacks to the 2 buildings that were furthest most south along that property line were 50 feet, and our parking landscape setbacks were 35 feet. Total unit count was 246 units, and our gross density was 12.18 units per acre. The revised plan reduces this by 1 building pad and eliminates and relocates the 2 buildings that were furthest south on the south property line. So we now have 2 3-story buildings, which are located at the far north end along Rand Road, transitioning south with 7 2-story buildings. Our parking ratio increased from a 1.85 to a 2.15, only 20 stalls short of Lake Zurich's ordinance. The south property line setbacks have increased from 50 feet to the first principal multifamily structure to 160 feet. The accessory structures, so we have 4 detached 1-story detached garages along the south end of our parking. Those are a transition from the 3-story moving down 2-story, 1-story to get to the adjacent single-family homes. Those detached garages are 100 feet from the property line, and then the parking areas are 125 feet. I'd like to note that those detached garages were strategically and intentionally placed there to help with noise, headlights from the cars, which really now eliminates the need for the opaque fence. I'd like to also note that the existing trees now that we're able to save on that property line along the south is over 100% opacity. So you're not seeing much through that existing tree line now. Total unit count decreased from 246 to 213, and our gross density decreased from 12.18 to 10.54. The next two slides are aerial renderings looking northeast. This rendering is the existing plan as proposed last week. I'd like to focus your attention along the south property line where you see the pond and the single-family homes on the right-hand side. You'll see in the next slide that those two buildings furthest south are no longer there, and we were able to save a significant amount of existing vegetation and large trees. And this is the revised plan. Density. So since courtesy review, it's a courtesy review back in January, we presented a 282 unit plan, 8 3-story buildings with a density of 13.96. We have since revised that to 10.54. That density is less than 3 other multifamily developments approved in the village of Lake Zurich, including Canterbury Towns, Somerset Townhomes, and the waterfront of Lake Zurich. Setbacks. This slide was presented last week, but we've included the new setback lines. So that red setback line, 30 feet, is the by right principal setback for both B3 and R6 zoning. The 50 feet is the line where our existing multifamily structures were, so that yellow line. The 100 feet is the setback from the property line to the rear face of those detached garages, and then 160 feet now to the multifamily buildings. I'd like to also note that the setbacks from the homes that are closest to the property along the south, if you look at the southeast corner, that southeast home is now 233 feet from the back of that home to the first multifamily structure, and then to the southwest, 327 feet from the back of that home to the multifamily structure, almost the length of an entire football field. These were the site sections that we presented last week. At the top, it's what we presented last week with the proposed plan, and at the bottom is the revised setback. So this was the 21962 Farthingdale Court residence. You can see existing, we had 125 feet between structures, and now we have 233. And then this is the home at 21975 Mayfield Lane. This one was existing, we had 217 feet, and now we have the 327. So these are two side-by-side snips of our preliminary landscape plan. I know it's busy, but I did want to make sure I note, you can see that Building 2 and Building 6 have been since removed. We were able to add what we're calling a passive park on the southeast end for some open green space for play. All of the trees that are in kind of a lighter color at the bottom, those are all the trees that we are now able to save, the existing trees we're saving. And then all of the darker trees are the trees we're planning to plant. This is a colored rendition of that slide. A little easier to see. The green and yellow or green and orange circles are newly planted trees. We've got the southeast view, the south view, and then the southwest view. All of the trees that look kind of like canopy, that's the canopy that will be remaining with the new plan. Parking. I touched on this briefly. Our parking is increasing from 1.85 stalls to 2.15 stalls, 20 stalls short of ordinance. And then I'll touch briefly on the school data. The chart here was not necessarily presented in detail last week. The list of names are our stabilized springs projects in Illinois. To the left of the names of the communities, that's their total unit counts. To the far right of that chart is the total residents as of 10/5/2025 in those communities. Just to the right of the line is the total number of children as of 10/5 in those communities. If you look at the percentage of school-age children, so elementary through high school, the average number of children per total resident is 9.4. So if we project that 9.4% to our anticipated springs at Lake Zurich, we have about 35 kids. In conclusion, we really hope that this new plan meets and exceeds some of the concerns and questions we've heard last week, including density and setbacks, on-site parking and traffic, green space, and tree preservation. We hope this community will spur further economic development in Lake Zurich and support that retail vibrancy along Rand Road. So with that, I will open it up for any questions or comments, or if you wanted the public to speak first.
No, thank you, Jen. One thing, Sarosh, I forgot to mention before Jen started her presentation is the issue about the notice. Even though this was a continued meeting, we still did put the notice out.
Yes, the sign's still at the property. Because it was a continuation of the previous week's public hearing, we didn't have to re-notify property owners or place an additional notice in the newspapers. We simply were required to post an agenda on our website, which we did according to the statutes.
Good, thank you for that. Jen, I want to compliment you on the work that you and your team have done
Thank you.
in such a short time. And I think what we'll do is, just because of the fact that this is a continued meeting, I want to ask the commissioners for their questions, but what we're going to do is have you do your complete presentation from your team before we open it up to the public, because as stated, we're opening it up for comments for the changes that you presented this evening. Okay, so I want to make sure that we've got your presentation finalized before we do that, so that we can have clear direction on those conversations.
Sure. So I think what we'll do is have each of our consultants come up, give an overview of where we are now compared to last week. I mean, the traffic study is the traffic study. The unit count only improves on that. And then stormwater is really the same unless there's any specific questions on the storm. This plan only helps the stormwater situation here with less impervious. But I do think it would be important to note, we do have our landscape architect here. He can elaborate a little bit on some of those numbers on the trees if you feel that that's necessary. And then we can have our environmental consultant, who was not able to attend last week, elaborate on maybe some of those comments on the wetlands.
Well, I think, Jen, I would like to have your landscape guy, because what you're doing in the tree preservation, you need to highlight that.
Sure.
Because that's a big deal.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to step down then and have Larry Glasscock jump up here.
Good evening.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Again, my name is Larry Glasscock. I'm with LG Workshop, landscape architect. To talk about removals first, which I think everybody's kind of main concern. So the new plan, out of 413 trees on site, we are losing 179 trees, which still sounds like a lot. I want to explain 100 of those 179 are basically the pad associated with the existing theater. Those are mainly honey locusts. Those are basically all honey locusts and a few Austrian pines. Both are, I won't ever call a tree bad, but they're overused, and most municipalities are trying to cut down on the use of them now. So they're marked as heritage trees, which we have to replace at 75%. And they kind of skew the numbers a little bit because we're cutting down so many of them in that parking lot. The remainder of the trees we're cutting down, we are cutting down 9 oak trees on site. Most of them are between 8 inches and 14 inches. The rest of those trees are mainly eastern cottonwoods that we're taking down, which are, again, most municipalities call it a weed tree. Lake Zurich classifies it as a desirable tree. But we've cut down by removables by more than 130 from the previous plan, and we're really retaining the bulk of those large trees along that southern border. So coming back with plantings, so to offset all of the removals, we are looking at I'm sorry, 179 proposed trees, 101 proposed large evergreen trees, 26 ornamental trees, and over 2,200 shrubs and ornamental grasses. And I wanted to point out, we're using a huge variety of species. We have over 30 different shrubs, over, I think, 18 different trees species, and we're trying to make this kind of an ecologically, culturally diverse site where we have homes for different pollinators and different birds and different mammals. So, and the design of this, you see a lot of hard lines in the architecture, and every event we've taken, every attempt we've taken has been to soften those lines and to make the backyards of the neighbors appear like they are natural. They don't have a fence running a straight line or a hedge running a straight line in their backyard. It's meant as a natural extension so that visually they're going to see this nice vista in their backyard and hopefully not see any of the development behind that. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any question of the landscape, gentlemen? No, okay. Thank you, Larry.
Hello, I'm Claudia Welp at Cage Engineering. And for stormwater, like Jen mentioned, we are reducing the amount of impervious area, so that is decreasing the amount of runoff that this site would be providing. So overall, that is the main stormwater change here.
All right. Thank you, Claudia.
Questions on storm?
Questions? Seeing shaking heads, no. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our presentation. I feel I've covered the changes that we've made, the consultants that are here now. Like I said, traffic hasn't been impacted any differently than last week, stormwater. So really Larry's testimony was the biggest change since we were here last week.
Okay, now, just for clarification, because of the arrangement of the detached garages along that border, that would, you mentioned, negate the need for the fence because there will be no carryover from the headlights because they're front loading.
Correct. That's correct. Yes. The fence now, we have such an increased setback that the placement of that fence would only increase our ability to have to take down existing trees or potentially damaged trees that we're now trying to save. And it would affect that parkland area on the southeast side that we're trying to preserve as well.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Commissioners, questions? Vlad, start with you on the changes we've seen.
Well, first, thank you for all the hard work you've put. It's commendable. You've done quite a bit of changing. It pretty much addressed all of my comments from last week. So, you took out those two buildings in the back, which is one point I made, and a lot of trees are being preserved. So that's great. Density went down, and I just kind of want to go through my notes. So last week I mentioned I was not concerned about the overall number of people coming in. We're flatlining as a community. We need to kind of increase a little bit. There are some silly conspiracy theories floating around. I will not address those, but I think we need to add some people to the community. So you mentioned over the course of the construction and putting the buildings into the use, you expect about a year to year and a half to be fully filled in. So that should be adequate to kind of absorb the people in the community. Looking at the, let's say if we were, if this was a R6 zoning, which I think is appropriate for the location, the number of units by right for that zoning would be around 174, if I'm not mistaken. So you're proposing about 39 units more. So it's a little bit more than ideal, but I think it's acceptable. In terms of density, I think we've reached the acceptable level, for me at least. The traffic, lower density will improve the traffic. I would just say that the right in, right out is a necessary one. I think, I don't know if we need to put it in a condition or,
Because it is already shown on the plans, we don't typically add it as a condition.
snow removal was discussed, obviously with the new plan. I think there's enough locations where snow can be placed. Stormwater, like I said last week, as a civil engineer myself, I don't, I'm a firm believer in engineering. So that's all designed as per code. I showed last week the school, the kind of number of students and everything, and like I said, based on the number of students over the past 6 years, Isaac Fox has seen a reduction in students, whereas the middle school and high school are pretty much flat. So I know your development is geared towards young professionals, not really for kids. If I was renting a place, I'd be looking for a park for kids, playground. I'd be looking for more kids there. So, I can't speak to your estimates. Some will say they're low, but that's what your data shows. I have no reason to doubt that. So I would say that the school impact would remain low, from my point of view, based on what I've seen numbers. And I also, I would support kids in schools whenever possible. So I think you've gone beyond and above, accommodating the residents in the back, in the south. The setback is quite substantial. I love that you're saving all the trees, providing all the the habitat preservation, and so thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Oh, one thing about the traffic. I know that it was mentioned before. If hopefully when Portillo's comes in, it will generate traffic, and people were complaining about Severn Brew having a lot of traffic, and initially that was the case. There was a lot of traffic. I drive that road frequently, and there was a lot of cars. I've noticed a sign in front of Severn Brew saying that they are not participating in promotions. And so since then, I have noticed that, the traffic I have not seen, lines and stuff. So I think, the community should expect that there will be traffic initially once Portillo opens up. New thing, everybody's gonna wanna come to it. I think after, several months, it should normalize, in my opinion. So that's all I have.
Right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Vlad. Mr. Morrison?
Yeah, I gotta follow that. That was great. Again, thank you. I can't say enough of, I know what that takes to do that amount of changing in design and planning in 1 week. It's pretty impressive. I do like the fact that you're putting the 6 bay garages to the south to help block the lighting. One thing I didn't notice, and I may have missed it on one of your images there, was snow storage. Is that, obviously that's had to change around with reorientation of buildings and whatnot. Did you have something that showed that?
So we don't have an exhibit. That
Okay.
would be part of our final engineering plans where we would have, where the snow would drain. That would be, we could easily have that as a part of Cage's package for final engineering.
But typically you have them like at the end of a long run.
Correct.
Or in an
Yeah.
island or something
Yeah,
like
or in some land banked parking stalls.
that. Gotcha, okay. I love the fact that you're saving a lot more trees. Still sounds like a lot that are getting cut down, but I understand that some of those could be considered what I call weed trees. I don't think other people call it that, but I do. Trying to think of what else he touched on. Oh, one thing that I could also kind of mention, he talked about Portillo's and being new and all that. Same thing kind of happened with the Bona Beef. I know that's not in Lake Zurich, but it's in our area, right? So that's kind of calmed down now. I still see traffic there, but not like it was when it first opened. So I believe that is a trend that will kind of follow. Did you do anything with the pond? That all stayed the same?
For the most part, it's the same. Once we get into engineering, that will likely shrink, but I don't want to speak as an engineer.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. And then you said the impervious went down, although you did have an increase of parking stalls, is that correct?
We did, here.
So I understand that you've got one less footprint, right?
Right.
But then you've got more, what, 20, no, not quite 20, you got 18 more parking stalls.
So one of the things to note on the parking, the previous plan, we weren't counting all of the land banked spaces. So it's kind of a give and take, but we do still have less impervious here.
Gotcha, okay. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Mr. Muir?
I had the beauty of watching this meeting for 4 hours since I was absent, but I had a whole bunch of questions. You came back and answered a lot of them. Setback was a big concern, the traffic, the park, all that stuff. Still think we're gonna have some traffic issues, but overall, quite an improvement from the original plan. I'm not gonna repeat what these two commissioners have asked before, so nothing else.
All right, thank you, Mike. Joe?
I think the changes were very smart. I like the development a lot more now. I think some of the issues that I saw in the past was just, from the original concept plan. Density went down, but the number of buildings went up. And I think that with this, a reduction in a building and density coming down, I think this is a much better position. As far as some of the other constraints out there that we discussed, like the traffic, really, we do have to look at it. There are some improvements to traffic with the right-in, right-out that I can see to the overall complex. Also, that could help with some congestion on Rand Road. I think that, you do have to look at it as a use being removed and then a new use coming in. So there is some traffic to the movie theater in the past. I know it probably wasn't as much as there was a while ago, but, that was intended to have a higher volume of traffic to that complex. And then on the snow melt or the snow stockpiling, the snow plow driver, I think he's gonna have a much easier time as far as how the drives are lined up, just because it does naturally push into that detention basin area now, with that being at the back end of the property and the lower end of the property. So I think it works a lot better overall. That's it.
All right, thanks, Joe. Hildy?
I don't really have anything. I'll echo what the other commissioner said. I appreciate all the work that went in the past week to, address the issues that have been brought up. I don't know if we asked this last week, but what if, for some reason, IDOT says no to the right-in, right-out? Does that affect the overall, or?
It would, for life safety. We are we've submitted our initial submittal to IDOT and are awaiting their response. But as Louie had mentioned, the distance between the intersection of June Terrace and where we're providing the right-in, right-out is greater than what is the minimal requirements, and we're also including that decel lane. So if all things go our way, we feel that we're pretty confident that they will be accepting of the right-in, right-out.
Yeah, I can't imagine they wouldn't, but, you never know.
Right.
You never know. But that would affect then what we're talking about here, which is understandable. Okay.
But given the time of construction, you would have the right of appeal to a negative ruling from them on that. You could appeal that decision, though, correct?
I believe so. That would be a question more so for Louie.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Thanks, Hildy. Sean?
Yeah. So I guess my primary issue last week was that you went through the pains of having a community meeting and then didn't use any of that feedback to change the plans. But a week later, you present plans that does reflect some of that feedback, so I do appreciate that. And I'm not gonna repeat what's been said to this point, but yeah, it doesn't 100% address, all of the comments that have been made, and I don't know that any plan ever would. But this does address a lot of those comments pretty substantially, and so I do appreciate that. There's been a lot of comments around school-age children that will or may not be in this development. I don't know that we can ever 100% forecast what that looks like, but I do appreciate the data that you provided for your other developments, and that's more than we had to go on last week. And so that to me is a movement in a positive direction. The increased open space on site, especially if there is school-age children there, that's a positive. The increased setback. Overall, just this is in a much better place than what we saw last week. So I do appreciate the effort made here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. And one of the items that was mentioned last week was, people mentioned the facilities themselves. And that there were some negative comments that were made. So I decided to do a little field research, took the drive to Crystal Lake, and visited your Three Oaks of Crystal Lake project. And it was an impressive project. It was an impressive building. I mean, I've spent 47 years in construction, so I can read plans, and I know what the buildings are supposed to look like from those pictures and plans. But seeing the real world is a whole different example, and it was, property was beautifully maintained. My wife and I commented, we looked at the balconies above, there were no towels hanging over the balconies. So it's an attractive project. It's very similar to this one. Funny how that works. The clubhouse looks much like your pictures. So it's good to know that that comes forward. But yeah, I'm impressed with the facility. Now, that facility, though, had a gate. This facility will not. Is that because of the Portillos?
It's not necessarily because of the Portillos, it's because of being bisected by June Terrace. We would have to have two completely separate sets of gates, which adds its own complications. So this is an ungated community.
Okay.
We do have other communities that are ungated. A lot of times municipalities won't allow gates, so we do have other communities that don't have gates.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jen. Any other comments from the commissioners? Okay, then we'll open it up to public testimony, but I want to restate that the comments and concerns of the citizens were heard at length. And if you weren't here that evening, you had opportunity to see it online. We were here for 4 hours. So we know what was said. And as Mr. Muir pointed out, he had the opportunity to go back and watch the whole thing, so all of us can do that. But everything that was said last week is a part of the final findings of PZC, and will be presented to Village Board as part of that process. But if you have concerns or comments, based on what the changes were presented this evening, then now we can open that up to the public comment.
Colleen has the sheet that was used to sign up for names.
Thanks, Colleen. Okay, so the first one on our list this evening is Ronnie Binder.
I have one short comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, just for the record, even though you were here last week, you'll still need to say your name and address for the record.
Ronit Binder, 21946 North Farthingdale Court, Deer Park.
Thank you.
And I'm wearing my Lake Zurich shirt to remind you all that even though I am a Deer Park resident, we are very much a part of Lake Zurich.
Okay.
My daughter was on the middle school wrestling team. She was the only girl on the middle school wrestling team.
Kudos to her.
Thank you. I would like to propose, with this new number of 35, of an estimate of 35 school-age students, I would like to propose that if then this number goes above 35, that there be some kind of additional school impact fee enforced by the village. That for every year if the registration in our schools goes above 35, I'd like to propose that the development has to pay an additional school impact fee. That's it.
All right, thank you, Rodney.
Thank you.
Next on our list is Mary Kozu. Did I say that correctly? Probably not.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Kozub, and I live at 280 Pebble Creek Drive in Lake Zurich. I am going to throw some things at you, and it's kind of late in the game, and I apologize for that.
Oh, you have to speak into the mic, so it's,
No, but it was in my way.
I know.
I am the president of the Ancient Oaks Foundation. I have multiple roles here in the community. I'm on the tree commission, and I volunteer all over the place, but tonight I was just going to go with Ancient Oaks. So we are a volunteer organization. I'm hoping you're all familiar with us. But we've been working on preserving oak woodlands on village property for 14 years. So today, I got to go to a workshop at Morton Arboretum, which is the Oak Recovery Ecosystem Plan. There was one put out 10 years ago that has data on Lake Zurich's canopy. In that data 10 years ago, they put the canopy in Lake Zurich behind other communities of the same size in the Chicago region by 38%. So this new mapping, which does the new canopy study, will be available starting Monday, but think of the difference. It's what happened to our canopy in 10 years. I mean, we've seen a lot. We're a growing community. So the mapping is more sophisticated now too, with the LiDAR and everything else too. So you can get the layers of the canopy that we have and everything else. So I know you don't want to wait, and I know they don't want to wait, but I think that that is important, that we know what we have. Because tree surveys are important and landscaping is important, but do we really need more waving grasses? No, we need more trees. Replacing a tree this big with a tree this big does not give us our canopy count. And the presenter today was fascinating because she actually is doing her doctorate on oak and forest patches throughout the Chicagoland region. And it's the Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and it goes from Indiana all the way up to Milwaukee. And so this region is fascinating, but she had something that she said that I thought would really hit home tonight, that really our oaks and the forests that they support, if we have a healthy forest, they provide two ecosystems. The physical structure, which we benefit from with our oxygen and beauty, and it puts our property values up, and it gets our carbon and everything, but also the social, because really trees do provide us with a social standard that we all absorb right away. Because we want the house with the trees, we want the parks with the trees, we want the old trees, we don't want those little mini guys. So I think that that's important. I would like to say that I'd like this data to be presented to you. We can do it from Ancient Oaks, I can get it to Saroche and all that, but this is something that I think is key. And since this is such a big piece, dropping off that canopy, I know we're down to the lowest on the trees, and we're taking out some honey locusts, which I'm okay with, just so you know. I like them, but the ones over there are not the healthiest ones. Yeah. So I will send Saroche the link on the 10-year study here in Lake Zurich, but they even tell us where to replant. And they give us 78% of places in this community where we could replant. And some of them are on the Route 12 corridor. So I thought that was fascinating. Okay, so other things that I have concerns as Ancient Oaks, and according to our goals that our organization has, were the setbacks. which are okay. They're not great, but they're better. Who's gonna take care of that setback? How are they gonna take care of it? Are they gonna do best management practices? Because if you put setbacks and trees behind garages, nobody goes back there, except somebody probably shouldn't be back there, and nobody takes care of them. So it'd be great if there were plans in place that would actually take care of them. And that's not mowing them, that's actually doing a forest ecosystem plan. Also, I kind of am really on those shrubs and grasses, because they die in 3 years. We've seen it. Look at Walmart's landscaping. Are there any plants left? I don't know. And then, also, if you've been to Cushman Park, you'll see that we put a nature playscape in. The village helped us quite a bit. We raised money. We raised $13,000 to put that in. Everything meets federal and state standards. But your park is mowed. I just feel like when I looked at those plans, and Dan will back me up, I said this when we were at the open house. Those people live in apartments. There's nothing for them to do on this site, except get in a car and drive somewhere. They don't want to walk across 12. I wouldn't walk across 12. So I guess, you have that, I don't know. I just don't think it's the healthiest place. And I've been to the Springs in Crystal Lake and everything else, and they have a recreation area with a lake and fishing classes and supboards and everything else they can do. So, you have any questions of Ancient Oaks, feel free to contact me. If you go through our website, it goes straight to me, and the phone number goes straight to me too. Just so you know, too, our board are all professionals. In natural resources, we do have an engineer. I know somebody said they liked engineering. An accountant. So we are fiscally responsible. We're all community-minded people. You have any tree questions? There's 3 of us that know a lot about it. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mary. Next, we have Matt speak out. Are you going to speak out, Matt?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
That is,
Did I pronounce it correctly?
no, it was perfect, actually.
right.
Yeah, so. My name is Matt Speakout. I'm at 306 Whitney Road in Lake Zurich. I'm not as eloquent and as Mary had just said, so I'm also a member of the Tree Commission as well. So I figured I would come and talk about it as well. I know I was late to it as well, but I grew up here. I still live here. I don't intend on going anywhere else. I just want to get involved in terms of protecting this. I got 2 kids, and I would love to give them the same kind of deal that I grew up in around here. So it's kind of a Sisyphusian task in terms of the canopy around here. And when I saw on social media that it was saying that that all of these trees would be cut down, it was concerning, and I wanted to make sure that that was actually the case. So yes, I know that we had said that there's trees being saved in the new options that we had just seen, but we're still losing many. Yes, I understand that they are trash trees or whatever we call weeds or anything like that, but it's still canopy. And when you replant something that is, or you cut down a mature oak that is 8 to 12 inches, right? You can't just replace it with one tree, and the canopy cover is not the same. So I know, just getting on record to say that. So I appreciate everything. So that's it.
All right. Thank you, Matt. But but just for clarification, the one thing that the landscape gentleman said was the honey locust trees that are being lost because they are site-specific to where the theater building was located. They were sort of vital to the theater, but that's all going to be raised. So those trees can be saved for that reason, not just because they're a nuisance tree, but because they'll be directly in path of the construction. But the important thing is they're saving the canopy to the south, and that's where they made such a substantial revision to the plan.
Right. And I mean, I assume from that there was a tree survey done, but as a member of the tree commission, I did not see anything of that. I don't know if that's supposed to come to us or anything
I can
like
answer
that.
that. Yes, we do share it with Sean Walkington. He
Okay.
had asked about it, but I asked him to hold off on showing it to you till we had a final version
Sure.
of the plan. And
Okay.
we seem to have one now, so we will certainly share it with you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Next, we have Garrett Niesenbaum.
Evening all. Garrett Nissenbaum, 2393 West Lancaster Court in Deer Park. Once again, thank you for the time. I know last week we brought up some of the traffic issues, but one of the bigger things was I had the pleasure of reaching out to the Director of Realty of Portillo's after our meeting. We were enlightened on some very key information and statistics of the actual traffic and the different exposures that are going to come with the Portillo's. As the Realty Group said, there is no Portillo's without Continental Development in the last meeting. One of the key things that they let me know, and this is statistics before they did their, and if you haven't had their breakfast, it's great. So these are only lunch to dinner hours, that they are servicing 1,900 to 2,300 customers a day. Now, I'm going to use the statistics and be super conservative, just like the school children situation, that we're going to say 3 people per car. That is still saying it's going to be 633 to 766 extra cars going through this assumed to be accepted in and out. But as I listened through some of the August meetings, I'm not sure which one of you said it. You're the planning committee, not the Hope It Happens committee. So right now, there isn't an approved IDOT in and out for this development. So one of the key things of that is that there is no left turn either, and it's Rand. So the proposed in and out for this Portillo's is about 100 yards away from the June Terrace intersection. We've all driven Rand. You're not going to cross all the lanes to get to the left turn lane to do a U-turn on Rand. So using, once again, these very conservative numbers, we're talking about 350 cars going to June Terrace to take a left turn. They're going to be additional. I want to bring those stats onto record because these are very concise and public record pieces that are on Portillo's sites and on their franchising sites and very available for the public to see. That these are the concerning numbers that we need to be looking at on top of, as you all saw, the garages and parking spaces of the residents of this development. And I would recommend that we take a look at this consideration or have it wait until the IDOT approval of this in and out.
All right. Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we have Alex Larson.
Alex Larson, 1111 Berkshire Lane, Lake Zurich. Earlier, you received the petition that was sent out to Lake Zurich residents from Zurich, so thank you for sending that out to them earlier for this presentation. I appreciate that. I wanted to highlight the fact that in this last 24 hours, that number was 342, I believe, that you received on that signage, hit now 482. So in 24 hours, 125 people now have signed on to that and added to their names list. The names who have signed on, about 30% of them have put their addresses down. Those who chose not to, due to obviously privacy concerns, they don't have their public information out there to the entire world. That's understandable in those areas. I want to highlight this for the simple reason that our community needs to know more about this. The growing number of people who are signing this within the 1 day of time. This has been up since the 19th. So in 4 days, we've now seen 400 people sign on to this. There's more people out there who don't know much about this yet, and I think that there's a concern that we need to address with our community beyond the initial meeting that they had with the public around a month ago now. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Alex. And the next speaker is William Alex. I can't read the last name. Sorry, William.
My name is William Alex Hildreth. I have terrible handwriting, as you can see. 801 Woodbine Circle in Lake Zurich.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just here to publicly log my family's objection to the development as planned. I'm the father of 2 school-age children, or soon-to-be school-age children, that will be attending Isaac Fox in the coming years. And my family have concerns about the number of children proposed, and we would like to see better information used to make those estimates. We also share the well-discussed traffic concerns that have already been brought to bear on this issue. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, William, for coming up. Is there anyone here that didn't sign in that wishes to speak? Were you sworn in?
I was not, no.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Did you raise your hand and do that? Okay, say yes.
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you.
My name-
and address?
My name is Wiley Bernard Douglas III, and I reside at 11 East Harbor Drive. If my name sounds familiar, it may because I ran for township trustee in the past election. Unfortunately, I lost. I'm here tonight to be a voice for the voiceless, especially those who have parents or those who have children who are disabled. My concern is that this, sorry, I'm a little emotional right now.
It's okay. Take your time.
I'm afraid that adding this is going to really hurt kids who need help the most. This is going to hurt a lot of kids, kids who have autism, kids who have a lot of different needs right now. And if that 35 number is crushed, we're going to be hurting kids who really need help in these schools. And I guess we really need to ask ourselves, are we willing to put a dollar amount? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, William.
Good evening. Good to see you all again, Chairman, Commissioners. Craig Daniger, 21975 North Mayfield Lane.
And were you sworn in?
I was.
Oh, you were. So
Well,
I can't swear you in again?
Sure. I swear. So obviously we're all, us all in the audience and you all are absorbing all this information at the exact same time. So it's a lot to take in. The package of information, it looks like from a, full package of drawing standpoint is a little bit less. But so I just jotted down a few notes in response to what we've kind of seen so far that I would implore you all to at least ask of the developer, or the developer can speak to themselves. But so just running down here, first from a density standpoint, I would just challenge the density comparisons that were in the package here, because really the only comparison from a apartment complex is the landings. The other comparisons are all townhomes, so it's really not an apples to apples comparison there. And as a reminder, the landings is 9.4 units per acre with no 3-bedroom apartments, and what's proposed here is 10.5 units per acre. Granted, better than before, we do appreciate that, but also with 3 bedrooms per apartment. And as noted earlier today, 174 would be permissible by right per the zoning that they're asking for. And I think just based on the community feedback that's been received, I mean, we're talking almost 500 signatures on that petition that speaks to schools, among many other things, for area-wide impacts, for traffic, and you name it. Why are we looking to push the limit and provide any variance for this here? It just doesn't add up to me. So I challenge that whole concept altogether. From a school standpoint, I think as a community, we would all love to know if anyone's actually reached out to the school district or had a conversation with the school district about how this may or may not impact the schools. And obviously, I think as a community, we're skeptical about their projections. They've got their own data and so on, but we're skeptical. And similar twist to what Ronnie had suggested, I would ask if the developer would be willing to put a condition to the zoning ordinance that would potentially be approved here to actually limit the number of school-aged children to their projection. Let's see if they can actually stand behind what they're saying. Second, from a land disturbance standpoint, like I said, it's hard to actually see a little bit what's being removed without, from what I could tell, maybe I missed it, but it looked like there was no grading plan provided to show what's actually being impacted. No tree removal plan was presented. We know there's fewer being removed, but we don't know exactly which ones and where quite yet. And so we would ask to see that. And then also really note that, or note the area on the bordering, around the perimeter of the property, the area that's actually being undisturbed, because like several people have mentioned, what's existing is always better than what's gonna be planted new, at least for the first 15 years. Next, related to the fencing comment, excuse me. There was a comment that the no fencing would be needed anymore. From what I could tell from the plan we saw, there actually are still kind of south-facing parking stalls next to those garages. So that is headlights that are flashing into the residences that are facing south. And I would agree there's not necessarily a need for fencing behind the garage, but between the garage and the fencing continuous, we would ask that that would remain intact. Simply add that same fence that was proposed before, rather than taking it away. Let me see here. I guess the last thing, just from a procedural standpoint, actually I take that back. Commissioner Schultz, you actually asked that question for me, so thank you. That's all I got. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig. Okay, so Jen, you're not up yet.
I was sworn in last week.
How about tonight?
Kimberly Latour, 23914 West Lancaster Court.
Okay.
It was very, very briefly discussed on, and I know there was talked about snow placed. In the newest, which, I mean, it was like an hour before, and it kind of blew up right as we sat down. Snow, it looks like it's supposed to be going on the southwest side. I know we talked about some land area for that. On the plan, the pond is in the middle, more to the east, and I'm not sure if they're gonna defy gravity, but I'm not sure how the snow that's gonna get piled on the southwest is gonna make it into the detention pond, because clearly the detention that is on their adjacent property is not functioning as it is supposed to, but it's not functioning as a detention pond either. So I just wanna put that out there.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. But what was addressed about the snow removal is that the issue in terms of the processing of the snow will be finalized as the drawings move forward. And it is something that we're aware of, it's something that staff's going to be aware of, and just to make point for the residents, it's something that the developer would be made aware of as the process moves forward, that it has to be resolved, correct? Sarosh?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as part of the final plan, we will be requiring the applicant to provide a maintenance plan, not just on the grounds, but on stormwater management, on areas of open space that need to be maintained so that they don't get overrun by invasives. And I think it's typically we see in the best interest of the developers and the users themselves that they'd like to keep their grounds free, free of any of these invasives and maintained properly from a standpoint of making sure that their own customers and tenants are properly served. But from the village's standpoint and any technical standpoint, yes, we will be requiring these maintenance plans to be submitted at the time of final plan review.
All right, thank you for the clarification. Okay, Jen, sir.
Hey there, Andrew Pesco, 23966 West Lancaster. Thanks again for the time to speak again this week. Really just a couple quick comments and questions that I have. What's referenced in the parking plan in terms of spaces, I see that a lot of this is, there's parking spaces for the restaurant of Portillo's. is that overlapping with the count? Are people, residents of these facilities supposed to use those spaces as part of this count? And if so, how is that gonna work? Would that lower the amount of available spaces as people are arriving at Portillo's for dinner, and these residents are coming home at night, and there's extra, vehicles there because they're there for dinner? How are they supposed to find a spot to park? So more of just a question on that. I also want to reiterate what Mr. Daniger said about the parking spaces facing south. It looks like there may be some spaces that are still there. And then to the comment about Portillo's versus other restaurants, I do think that there will be some initial excitement and extra traffic, but I think we've all been to Portillo's, and regardless of whether it's been there a year or 10 years, the line is around the corner. Portillo's just kind of is a little bit different in that regard, that there's constantly traffic. They've built a nice way to come through their drive-through, and there's a lot of traffic that is continually flowing through there. So I do see that it may initially subside, but it's still going to be a high level of traffic relative to any other type of development in that space. And then lastly, I think, again, we've talked about the stormwater, and I think we all agree the engineering is probably sound. But as we saw with the D&W property, I'm sure when that was built, it was built to code and built to function properly. So what recourse is there if this isn't functioning as intended? And I think we glossed over the fact that the detention area is going to be shrunk with this. So with the idea that we're going to be improving some of the impervious spaces, we're also going to be reducing where some of that water can go to. So there's kind of an offset in that. Appreciate the time again. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, now Jen, would you like to answer some of the questions that the residents raised in this evening's presentation?
Yes, I can address some of the questions that were raised. I guess I would like to start with the comments and questions from Mr. Daniger. He initially had discussed the comps from the landings density, and specifically related to 3 bedrooms. With this new revised plan, we have 23 bedroom apartments. So our ratio and our percentage of the number of 3 bedrooms is significantly low. It's actually about 9% of the total overall unit count are 3 bedroom units. Again, the density here is 10.54, and the landings is at a 9.4, so it isn't a significant change.
Okay, good.
Secondly, the schools, I did reach out to the school district. I left a message with Dr. Galt, the superintendent, and I did speak with her administrative assistant, Kate Povich. They are pulling together some information, but they are completely aware of our community and what we're proposing.
All right, thank you.
The limiting of the number of students and the number of children, first, it's a private business matter, but second, that would be discrimination, and we can't.
I was hoping you'd bring that up, and I wouldn't have to, but yes, that would be an issue.
Okay. Grading and tree lines, I would let Cage address any of the stormwater and grading questions that came up. And then the parking stalls that were what's being thought of as parking stalls between those detached garages, that's land banked area, it's actually grass. Those would only become parking stalls if the village forced us based on complaints that we didn't have enough parking. And we are more than confident that we are overparked, quite frankly, compared to what we see in our surrounding communities nationally and in Illinois.
Right. So there would not be cars pulling into those spots with
No,
headlights?
it's grass, yeah. To address Andrew Pesco's comments, there is no overlap between our parking counts and Portillo's. They have their own lease, which requires their own number of parking stalls. So the residents and Portillo's would not be sharing parking between the two. Our ratios are strictly our multifamily parcel. And I think that addresses everything that I had, and then I would ask that maybe Courtney comes up from Cage to address the questions on grading and stormwater.
Right, thanks, Jen.
Hello, Claudia Welp again from Cage Engineering. I'm just gonna address the comments related to the, stormwater and grading. We did work very closely with the team, with the new plan to determine our grading plan at a preliminary level to ensure that the trees we're claiming that are being saved are actually being saved. We in no way were making guesses here regarding canopy. We worked very closely with Larry on where that limit of grading needed to be to ensure that those, trees, were gonna be saved. Regarding the stormwater management, yes, the pond would most likely shrink, but that's not because we're providing less stormwater reduction. The reduction is still remaining the same. It's just a matter of less impervious area requires less stormwater management.
Okay, makes sense, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, you'll let me know if you have a question at any time? Good, thanks. All right, Jen, who do you have? You one?
Hi, Trevor Stadler with Continental. I don't think that Jen had necessarily anything else to present, but we're happy to answer any questions if the commissioners had any that have come up over the course of the residents' concerns. That being said, are there any questions?
Well, again, start with you down there, Vlad.
From all the comments brought up by the residents, the only one would be the 1,922 cars per day number. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, Ricky will comment on that.
Richard Silverman, MJK Real Estate, the future outlot developer for the proposed Portillo's. I'd like to point out, we are not here tonight to review the Portillo's project. I will have my own presentation. I will have my own traffic studies. I will be here with Portillo's executives when the time comes down the road. So we are not here to observe the traffic counts of Portillo's. Louis, the professional, can speak to that. But when we are ready to present our Portillo's, which will include our traffic impact study, our landscape plan, our building renderings, our parking counts, all of that will be presented to the commission, and the village and the community will have time to ask questions and go through that. But this evening, we're here for the Continental project, and when Portillo's is developed in the future, they will be self-parked with 100 spots on their lot.
All right.
So that will be, the new traffic study will be done for the Portillo's.
When we come through, there will be an update.
And do
Portillo's is factored into the current traffic study already that has been produced by our consultant as well as reviewed by the village's third-party consultant and agreed upon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Real quick, I just want to make sure that I heard that right, because I did have a question about Cloa's, it is Cloa, right? Their traffic study did include numbers for you, for Portillo's. I'm seeing
Yes, sir.
that's nodding, thank you.
All right, no, thank you. Scott, that was your only question, or you have other questions? Was it? Mr. Muir? No? Mr. Genie? Hildy?
No.
John? No. Okay. Are we ready to move to deliberation? Commissioners? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on application PZC 2025-18 and move to deliberation.
So moved.
Thanks, Hildy.
Second.
Thanks, Mike. Call the roll, please, Colleen.
Commissioner Schultz,
Aye.
Commissioner Glowaz,
Aye.
Commissioner Giannini,
Aye.
Commissioner Kovacevic,
Aye.
Commissioner Morrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Muir,
Aye.
Chairman Stratman.
Aye. Okay, what do we need to say that hasn't been said? What questions do we have? What comments do we have on our deliberation? We sort of self-deliberated as we went along with the questions, but do we have anything we want to address?
I guess my only question, and I may have more as we talk, but one of the residents had suggested, and I just thought it was an intriguing suggestion, you know, if the number of school kids were to be much more than what was projected, would there be an opportunity, or could we do something in terms of additional impact fees? And I think that's more a question for Sarosh. I mean, can we make it a requirement of what we do here, or?
You can make it a recommendation for the village board to
recommendations, right.
consider.
We
You
don't
can
require
certainly-
anything. We just recommend.
You can certainly consider that. However, we find that in the past 25 years now that these impact fees were instituted, the school district has not come back to us saying that, oh, it's not enough or it's too much. They have been finding out that the impact fees that have been in place have been serving the school's needs relatively well by the fact that there have been no complaints. Again, the school district sets the impact fee amounts, which the village then enforces during the time of permit. And impact fees are paid on a unit basis, depending on the number of bedrooms per unit, which then translates into a population equivalent that is then evaluated by the school district to see how it serves either the creation of a provision of land for a new school or a fee in lieu of that land.
And again, just for clarification, that impact fee, as you said, is based upon the number of bedrooms?
Impact fees are calculated based on a population equivalent based on the number of bedrooms.
Bedrooms, okay. So it's not based upon the presenter's number of students that they anticipate based upon their data?
Yes.
But it's based upon the number of living units?
Living units. So it could be the case that a majority of the living units in the development may simply have adults who may not necessarily have kids. But provision is there in the development and the layout of each of these units, particularly the 2 bedrooms and the 3 bedrooms, for kids to be accommodated. I would pose a question to the developer. Do you see kids in your 1-bedroom units? Okay, so
All
she's
right.
nodding her head, no.
Thank you, Sarosh. Okay, does that answer the question, Yodi? All right. John?
Yeah, I don't know that it's needed because the applicants kind of addressed it in some of their follow-up comments, but just for clarity's sake, can you talk through what the approval process would be for Portillo's should that go forward?
Sure. Portillo's will have to come in through what we would call an amendment to this PUD. Currently, an outlot has been set aside with simply the internal circulation leading in and leading out of the site. There is a box showing the relative approximate location of the building and parking to serve that. I would also like to clarify that there was a comment made that the right-in, right-out is only for the Portillo's. That is not the case. The right-in, right-out that is being proposed by the developer is a second means of access to the property for emergency crews and to relieve some of the traffic being sent to the June Terrace intersection. As part of the process, Portillo's, as Mr. Silverman began to explain, will be required to come in with a full set of plans very similar to the ones you saw in your packet for the Continental development. That'll include a preliminary site plan. It could end up being a final site plan because a lot of the preliminaries have been addressed by the developer right now in terms of stormwater and all of that, but they will have to provide us with all of the details of a site plan, utility plan, grading plan, the building elevations, the building floor plans, building materials, just like you would see for a regular project that come to you from time to time. They would go through the process of the public hearing, which will be noticed in the papers. Surrounding properties within 250 feet will be notified of that parcel. The recommendation that you make over here would go to the village board for their final consideration and approval. If they come in with a preliminary plan, they would have to come back later with a final plan, but we typically see that with single site development for smaller developments, developers usually come in with a final plan because the difference between the type of information that we need for a preliminary to a final plan is very small, and so developers typically resort to just going with a final plan.
Thank you, Sarosh. As Sean mentioned earlier, you know, they did have, you did hold the open session with the public, and he commented that, you know, the plan came in because your meeting with the public was short before you'd already come in, And so what you presented to us last week didn't reflect a lot of the things that were heard from the residents from the open house. But in this week's time, you have addressed many of those comments that were made and done a very good job. And as those of us who are in the construction business understand, to see what you got done in a week is pretty amazing. Someone was very busy at the board for a while. But to also, highlight the fact that, we all did, the commissioners all did receive the petition. It didn't have all the signatures on that the gentleman spoke to tonight, as that list is still growing. And we like to see that kind of community engagement. And we read the comments of the people that took the time to mention them. And I think a lot of the comments that we read were based upon information that was not yet presented to them when they were making the comments, because I don't want to speak for all the commissioners here, but for myself, a lot of the concerns I read on that petition that were signed, where they actually put down comments, have been addressed in this proposal to us now. The density and, the setbacks, so much of the concern that they had. And, we still have the issue, and we will continue to have the issue and discussion about the stormwater, because people who live with water see that as a concern. So I just want to remind people, though, that, you can mention what had happened in the past, the codes that were impacting people that lived. For instance, when we got the 2013 rain, the areas that were impacted by that were because they were based upon the old stormwater management data in terms of what the requirement were at the time. That has been updated. So this project is going to be subjected to the new stormwater management, both by Lake Zurich and by Lake County as well. So it does help all the residents that have the concern about what happens with the water. We actually have to look at that now. And it's not by this commission, but by people that are way smarter than we are when it gets to them. And they'll take a look at that. But I really do feel strongly that I think the process works. There were questions that were asked, very valid questions, very valid concerns, but I haven't seen a petitioner come in as prepared to respond to what those concerns were as you have with this presentation to us this evening. So that's my comment on the deliberation.
One last comment. With regards to the staff report, now that we've reached a point where the Plan Commission is ready to make a recommendation, our staff report recommendation does remain the same, because on an overall standpoint, the impact of this development has been reduced to an extent on this land, where we find that we have no need to change our recommendation.
Okay. So the yellow font still is a little yellow,
Those
but
will
it's
still
gonna be
remain
less.
yellow, yes,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
One more to address a comment. Somebody asked why approve variance at all. And I see multiple reasons. One is it's not a huge increase in variance that they're asking above the, like I said, I believe this should be R6 zoned, that's appropriate. So going from 174 to 213 is not a huge jump compared to the process that we would have to go through multiple times, looking at different proposals, and that then fatigue sets in with community, there's less engagement, and then we may end up with, a worse product, possibly. So I think that, having a responsive developer who's listened to the comments and actually came back addressing those, I think it's a really good a process. Like a model, I wish this was like this for most of them. The Block A, 20 plus years, we waited, and, a lot of proposals, and then people disengaged. We had few people come in the last one to testify. So that kind of, it's good to have community involved, because then you can make your comments, you can have your voice heard, more people, the petition, it all contributes to changes. And you've seen it, how much this was reduced from, a week ago, the density and everything. So.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
The hearing is closed.
This is not back and forth.
So, well, you know, I'm just saying that we heard this second time. Last week we heard the first time. So that's all I had to say.
All right, thank you, Vlad. Okay, anyone else? Joe?
I'd just echo on that as far as variance and variance approvals. And this is typical for multifamily developers. When they come forward with density, typically sometimes relief on density can be established just based off of certain amenities to the property. I do see Continental as a higher end multifamily complex. Just, you know, going from one multifamily developer to another, Continental is on the higher end. They are establishing a clubhouse with a pool, as well as other features within the property. So there is some justification for that density variance. That's it.
All right, thank you, Joe. And the one comment that was made too is, do we need apartments? And they wouldn't be investing their money in the village of Lake Zurich unless they felt that they were going to find people for those apartments. And the reason they have they've done their homework. Lake County has a shortage of apartments for rent. There was just an article in the paper 2 weeks ago about Arlington Heights. They listed that Arlington Heights apartments are at 97% occupancy, which they went on to describe as full occupancy, because you've got people moving in and out. So if you've got 97% rented, they consider that full occupancy. So they're maxed. And that is, we're in that kind of a category. People are looking where apartment rental is very much a need. So we have a property that needs to be developed because the theater is not going to be there. And this is a use that Continental feels is going to be good for the community, and it's going to be good for them. That's why they're putting the money there. And I think it's something that does meet the needs for the village. Not back and forth, sorry. Okay. Do we have more comments, more deliberation? Okay.
I guess the only thing I'll say is, you know, and these are always extremely difficult situations. I mean, bottom line, you know, we can talk about individual issues and say we're concerned about this, we're concerned about that. They've come back, they've made adjustments. But basically, there are gonna be, you know, people that do not want this, period. No matter what would have been done, they just don't want it. So I recommend, you know, and I understand that. And then there are people that do want it, and then there are business reasons for it, there's community reasons, there's a lot of different reasons. You know, all we can do is recommend, based on what we've seen, does this, in the grand scheme of things, fit what we're looking at for Lake Zurich? So that's what we do, bottom line.
And I did hear Mr. Daniger's comment about the fence, but I also remember Jen saying that if we do the fence, we might damage some of the trees that we're trying to preserve in terms of what that is. So I don't want to put the condition that we talked about earlier about putting the fence in. With the changes been made, I feel that we've accomplished the purpose of what that would have provided, right? Okay. So are we ready? All right. Pardon?
Please don't go to me first.
All right. On application PZC 2025-18, I will entertain a motion to receive into the public record the staff review of compliance of this application with the zoning standards as presented by staff, and to receive the testimony presented by the applicant, by members of the public, both verbally and in writing, by the PCC members and staff, and to make these standards and testimony a part of the official record for the application and findings of the PCC, and to recommend that the village board approve the application for a planned unit development, PUD, to redevelop the property with a mixed-use development containing multiple family residential buildings to be known as the Springs at Lake Zurich, to be developed by Continental Properties at 755 South Rand Road, with an outlot reserved for a quick service restaurant to be developed in the future.
So moved.
Second.
Building, thanks, Mike. Call the roll, please, Colleen.
Commissioner Schultz,
I knew it. Aye.
Commissioner Muir,
Aye.
Commissioner Giannini,
Aye.
Commissioner Glowaz,
Aye.
Commissioner Kovacevic,
Aye.
Commissioner Morrison,
Aye.
Chairman Stratman.
Aye. So you have a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Zoning Commission going to the village board for your project, and the staff will determine the date for that board meeting?
Yes. We will have all of the documents updated by the developer before we can proceed to the village board for their recommendation.
Mr. Chair and Sarosh, was there a separate matter you were going to consider regarding the rezoning?
No, I think it's all part of the,
It's all part under
all
the
part
same-
of the same
So the
recommendation.
PUD and the rezoning
Yes.
would receive the unanimous recommendation?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro, for clarification.
Oh, Lordy. Oops.
Thank you. Okay, so, no other business?
So far, we have nothing in the pipeline for November. And we have passed the deadline. And so we will be canceling our November Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
I was counting on Thanksgiving here.
Two this month, so I think we deserve it, right?
Too bad.
But there is a chance that we may have a December meeting, so there is something in the pipeline being worked on currently. And if it is ready to go by the deadline that falls in November, we will bring you back in December. But it will hopefully be just one item.
Okay. All right,
All right, then.
so we set?
Sure.
Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Roll, please, Colleen.
Commissioner Giannini,
Aye.
Commissioner Glowaz,
Aye.
Commissioner Kovacevic,
Aye.
Commissioner Morrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Muir,
Aye.
Commissioner Schultz,
Aye.
Chairman Stratman.
Aye. We are adjourned.